Hi everyone, I hope you all are doing good. This is the episode 5 for Medical Billing Blueprint, and the title is My First Client. How did I close my first client? So it's been a while, approximately 6 or 7 years. Today is like a storytelling episode where I will be sharing something which is true, 100%. This is based on my personal experience. So this is based on true story. So this whole episode is based on that. So. Um, we all, starts from somewhere, and I started from scratch, and that wasn't a very good experience, honestly speaking. It was maybe 6 years ago, roughly, and I closed my first client in medical billing industry, and it took me about roughly 2 to 3 months, honestly, because so I was in a firm. I wouldn't name it because I believe it would be not appropriate to do that because there are some good things about the story, some bads. So obviously I don't want to mention anybody because eventually they were good for me because they taught me everything, whatever I am today, I believe, because they bombarded things, departments on me, and I think different strategies, different, I think it's necessary for you to build from something that you push your limits, go beyond than that. So that's what happened. And I was new in the department for the business development and revenue cycle management. So one day I got a call and there was a lead on the line. So the firm that I was working, they were not doing like outreach through cold calling. Most of the people do that, or they were doing their internal marketing and SEOs and all the other services that they do. I believe they are good sources. If you can spend that much of money, you would like to go for it. So that's where you get the lead, and that's what I got the lead, and I got a call on the main line, and the doctors stated his name and said, this is so and so, and I'm calling you, and I would like to inquire your services. And as an initial first timer, or I would say the freshie out there, the immature person, I was just, very excited and I was very enthusiastic at the same time, and I was pretty much without knowing what exactly will happen if I go too much on the call. So I started asking him questions, so many questions. What's your name? Where are you based at? Where's your clinic is located? And do you have an NPI or a practice NPI and all of that stuff? And he was a very nice person, as a nice doctor too, who actually communicated everything to me. And then he asked me, "Do you need anything else from me before you tell me more about yourself?" And I was like, "I'm so sorry, I wasn't prepared for this call. I'm pretty much new, but as you know, the closers, we don't act like we are new. We always act like, that we already know everything about you." So. And I said, okay, I'll tell you something about our company. So I started telling and representing the company that I was working for at that time, and what exactly we do, where we located, what are the services that we provide, and all this stuff. And the client wanted to meet finally, and I said, okay, would love to jump on a quick call, Zoom or whatever you prefer, either a physical meet. The practice was in Brooklyn, New York. So I said, okay, wonderful. We can set it up, physical meet or um, a virtual, if that makes sense. We can be in the meeting. The management can be in the meeting, and we can set something up for you. So he said, okay, but I'd like to talk to your owner first of all. And I said, Fish, what exactly? Like, why do you need to do that? Like he said, okay, I want to ask him some questions. I said, okay. You can tell me either, though I can answer. Oh, I try to answer them. And he said, okay. At that moment, I wasn't so much aware about the RCM. I believe he asked me some one or two questions, which was out of my syllabus at that time, and I wasn't prepared for those questions. I said, okay, how about if I could connect you with the owner, or I can set it up? He said, okay, that's what I was exactly asking you in the first place. So I said, okay, now fair enough. Now we both are on the same page, so let's do it. I set up the first call, the initial call actually with my owners of that company, the management, the higher stake, and they spoke for about 17 to 18 minutes on the call, and I was just wondering what exactly would be happening. Either he's complaining about me, either the client is happy, or either they are making sense to each other or not. And suddenly I got to know that the owner said, "We are not taking this client." I said, "Why is that so? Like, what happened? Like, he's a good the chiropractor and is in Brooklyn, New York, the same state that we are in. What exactly the issue is?" So he said, "I think the client is." not doing right. The client is not making sense to us. If first of all, it's a new practice. It wasn't a new practice. He was practicing for a long, very long time, but he wasn't that much good in terms of revenue. So they said, first of all, he's not making sense for us as a financial. And at the same time, this client he talks too much, all that stuff. And I said, the clients talk too much. And how does it doesn't make sense for us. Like if he talks, that's fine. People talk. Some of them are good. You meet with individual to individual personality lives, and you got to meet with some good clients, some bad clients. I wasn't saying bad in terms of like some clients are very professionals. They will stick to the professional formal language, and some clients will be very try to be familiar with you, try to be very communicative to you, try to be very nice to you all the time. And even though they are complaining, or they still try to be very calm, and that depends, there's, let's just say, West and South and all of the stuff. So you meet everybody, and you have to act individually with every individual. You have to, give response to everybody the way they respond to you, or they prefer the response to be. Either sometimes it's very professional, sometimes they would like you to guide them step by step, like a baby spooning and all that stuff. Although because that's not their genre to be in, so definitely you need to assist them in any manner possible that you can do. So I said, okay, let me talk to the client. He said, you shouldn't just leave the lead and move forward with others, right? But this is something which I was been crawled about for a very long time because I feel for the clients. I feel for, to me, client relation is something that is, more than a business. More, I keep my partnerships over the business all the time, whether it's about the business partnerships, or either it's about the clients, doctors, clinics. I like to go beyond whatever I can to help them out in any manner. I keep the conversation in the manner that I can understand them and they can understand me, what exactly I will be telling them, and they will be, telling me. So I like to keep it that way. And this is something which I was been bullied for a very long time in that form. So anyhow, I kept trying contacting their provider. The provider said, okay, I'm interested in what exactly you guys are doing, and I want to move forward. Now what? So I said, okay, I'm going to send you a contract that you can review. And if that makes sense, at that moment, I used to call it contract because that was a contract. And now I call it an agreement because I like people to be agree on something that we are running. I wanted to keep it like a paperwork, so that doesn't sound like I'm gonna bounce you for any reason out there. So that's how I like to keep the things in my phone. And so I started with that, and I said, okay, I'm gonna shoot you over a contract. You can review that. If something makes sense, we'll move forward with this. Otherwise, we'll stay where we are, and you stay where you are. No string attached. So. He said, okay, send me over. And now I went to, because at that moment I was learning, and, while doing your job, you're still learning and a lot of things. So I moved to, I went to my manager and I said, what exactly I need to code him based on his specialty and based on his expertise and all that stuff, and based on his collection, obviously. And I got to know that I can pitch him a higher percent so he can drop the ball. So he can just cut off from our side. He can move towards another company. I said, how much do you want me to code him? Because I was, at that time pretty much junior than the designation that he was in. And I said, okay. He said, like, pitch him about 8 to 10%. I said that wasn't going to be a fair deal, right? But, they said shouldn't be making that much. So I think the 8% is nice because that will allow us to do the right job in terms of billing. I said, okay. So I pitched him 7 initially, and he got agreed on that. And he said, okay, send me over the paperwork. I'll review and sign it. And that's what I did. And that's how I got my first client. But once we got him on board, I wasn't getting any account manager for him. Unfortunately, I went to the manager first of all. I went to other people around me. I went to the owner at last that, there's a client has been signed up for last 2 months now and was just figuring out who would be the account manager for him. And the client, the doctor was actually asking me that I'll be honest because he knows my name. there wasn't a suitor at that time, so he said, "Well, just tell me either you guys are gonna move forward with me or you're gonna drop me. Just let me know so I can be actually having a clear picture so I can move my and plan my things accordingly." So I said, "Okay, just talk. Give me 1 or 2 days." That's what I asked. That's what I remember that I asked for. Let me talk to the owners and get it done for you. And whatever the decision will be, I will just be very transparent with you. So either they will accept it or either they will say, we're hanging you dry or whatever that will be. So based on that, I spoke to my owners. Unfortunately, they were here, and I spoke to him, and he said, "Okay, let's just give that account to someone." So there was a manager back in there. It was um, very good at in the billing. That's what I thought, honestly. And they given him the account. And finally, I did my first introductory meeting after 2 months with that client, and I was pretty much happy. The client was very satisfied with based on my service. Actually, he was very happy because I was sticking with him for from the start till we got to know that the billing has been started and things are going in a way that they are doing the onboarding, they're gathering the documents, the access of Office LI and all of the stuff. And I was pretty much happy because on it, that I helped him out actually. That's what I wanted to have at that moment because our commission wasn't stick to that first initial leads, I believe, or maybe something like that. So I was just wanted to help him out, honestly. And then after 2, 3 months, I got to know that that client was being that wasn't making any progress due to the account managers because they were not having back and forth communications with him, and they were making some mistakes and all that stuff. But the client called me, asked me what exactly I need to do, and I was like, "Doc, I have done my job. I'm not allowed to help you further." Or I cannot do that at the moment because I was still learning. I was in a phase where you learn things and you see exactly what is going on, and based on that, I cannot do further about this. But he said, just ask the owners to help me out with this, or either change my account manager or switch me to someone that I can rely on. And so that wasn't a perfection at all. Your first client won't come from perfection, I would say. It will come from action and it also teach you something. So don't worry, either your first client screwed up or, you are making something good for himself or, for the client. So that's fine. You will see problems, you will resolve it. People don't pay you for, what you do. They do pay you for exactly what they know from your side, and they pay you to solve the problem. So that client dropped the firm and left out. So you don't need to start with 10 clients, I would say, because we have to end the video. I don't want to push it so much longer so the people will get bored. But I would say either you will have one day your own first client, and when that happens, be confident, try to help them out, be very transparent, tell them everything that you need, that you know exactly, and what exactly you can offer, and put the value for them on the table. Be very transparent. So do not just overcommit something out that we're gonna do. Do not promise stars and the moons to them before you don't do that. So do not do that. Just keep it very transparent with the providers out there. Keep it very transparent to your first clients, whether it doesn't really matter what industry you are in right now. The first clients are very special. You always remember them. It's been like 6, 7 years now since I remember my first RCM client, and because he trusted me, and I called him, before I was leaving the firm, and I said, "Are you still happy? Are you they're doing your job?" Because at that moment we wasn't so much aware what exactly is going on with that account, because of designations and all this stuff. So, but I will be in touch. I said, okay. He said, and like the things are going fine now. They introduced me with a new account manager, and I'm grooming. So I said, okay, that's I'm very happy to hear that, and look forward to seeing you, you know, growing. So that happened. That was the last time I believe I spoke to him, and I wish him very good luck with his practice, and that's what we can do, right? So if you guys are waiting for your first clients, I believe in the next episode or so, I'm gonna try to teach you guys out how to reach out to these clients, how to help them out, and how to start your own, entrepreneurship and help them out. So that's what we're gonna do. And if you still liking the series, I would really appreciate if you can share it with someone who's actually needs it. If not, that's fine. And I hope to see you guys in another episode. Have a good one, guys. Thank you so much for listening to me today.